Dan Dickau here for the ISO on the Gonzaga Nation Media Network. It is a Mailbag Wednesday episode, July 27th. Each Wednesday I take 2 or 3, occasionally 4 reader questions and answer them. It could be anything. It could be Gonzaga basketball related, just general basketball related, or a question about something I experienced in my career or a thought that I had on a random topic. So we'll just jump right into it today. If you do have a question, send it my way. Instagram at DDickau21, Twitter at Dan Dickau21, or send it on email, Dickau at Scorebook Live. The other way would be to send it to one of our Gonzaga Nation SI social media channels, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. But let's get right into it. First question comes from Phil in Salt Lake City. He asks, I see a lot of college teams are taking overseas trips or preparing for trips. Has Gonzaga ever taken one? Good question, Phil. And from everything that I know, Gonzaga has never taken an overseas trip. They've got a lot of guys that have taken overseas trips in the summertime to play for groups, whether it's an athletes in action group. I actually did one of those before my first year at Gonzaga. I know Corey Kispert went on an athletes in action trip, and then many guys have played for their national teams in the summertime, which is something that Coach Few absolutely encourages. It's just a way to immerse yourself in a different basketball philosophy and a different basketball setting, but also the ability to kind of see the world. Coach Few's always been big on that. I think he's gotten even more behind that with his time with USA Basketball, I think, over the last 12 years or so. So, no, Gonzaga, from my knowledge, has never been on one. But, yeah, if you look around, you see, LMU's taking a trip this year. Wyoming's over on a trip right now. Colorado State is on a trip, just to name a couple schools that are out west. Former Gonzaga assistant coach Ray Giacoletti, actually, I spoke with him a week or two ago. He's now working for a company that organizes these trips for a lot of schools. And so it was really interesting to hear in our conversation how he talked about how these trips come together and how they prepare and plan for them. He'll be a guest on the ISO again here soon, and we'll get into that, how these trips come together and what is the purpose behind the trips. Because it's obviously basketball related, but a lot of it is experience related and building a camaraderie amongst a team and a program that really is what teams are looking for. So, Phil, thank you for the question. Great question. Next up, from Phoenix, Tim asks, I see Arizona and Duke are playing a home and home. Do you think Arizona Gonzaga will get one of these? Good question, Tim, but I'm going to have to say that will not occur. Gonzaga and Arizona planned to renew the series last year, and then Tommy Lloyd, former Gonzaga assistant coach who was in Spokane for 20 plus years, took the head coaching job at Arizona. They canceled that game. I don't see that series happening again, even though they are traditionally, over the last 20 years or so, the most successful teams on the West Coast. I don't see that series happening as much as fans would want it to happen, unless it occurs in the NCAA tournament or an event like Maui Invitational or something like that. The reason being is, Coach Few does not like to play his old assistant coaches when they're at their new stops. One reason you've never seen Gonzaga play against Boise State with Leon Rice. He would hate to put a loss in a friend and former coach's win-loss column. He thinks it would be unbelievably difficult and hard to prepare to play against a friend in that situation. Another option was when you looked at when Coach Bill Greer was down at San Diego. That was different because you couldn't get around it, because it was a league game. But I think if you have the ability to schedule a series, kind of a home and home or a one-off game, like in a showcase type event that you see a lot, that's those made-for-TV games, the Arizona-Gonzaga matchup would be awesome, and I know most fans would want it, but I just don't see it happening. So appreciate the question, Tim. And the last question of the day comes from Jack in Spokane. He says, I saw you helped Anton Watson run a camp at Shoot 360 in Spokane. What were your camp experiences like as a kid? Brings back some great memories just seeing that question. I was lucky enough to go to, some basketball camps growing up. First couple camps that I went to were the Prairie High School camp, which was the high school that I went to in Vancouver. Every really good high school basketball program kind of has a camp where, the young up-and-coming kids in elementary and middle school can see and get to know the high school coaching staff and some of the players a little bit, and vice versa. And so that was one of the first camps that I was ever really a part of. My first overnight camp, I believe I was 12 years old. It was the first time I took an overnight basketball camp. I went to what was called the Pro Classic in Salem, Oregon. Coach Gordy James ran a tremendous camp down there. And I remember playing so well in the first day that they moved me up to play with the older kids. And another great camp experience I had was NBC camps. NBC camps are based out of Spokane. They are the largest camp group, I guess you could call them, in the United States, I believe. I mean, they've got, not only do they do basketball, which is their kind of heart and soul, but they also do some volleyball. They do some soccer. They have locations all across the country, and they even have locations in Europe. I think Italy, Germany, and I believe England, they have locations for camps each year as well. But that was another camp that I went to when I was young, and the reason I really liked NBC camps is they take it a step further. They do a tremendous job with the basketball side of things, with teaching fundamentals, but they also do a really nice job of talking about the entire perspective for a young athlete about your faith, sharing a little bit about that because it's important to them, a little bit about family, a little bit about nutrition. So they do a really good job, NBC Camps does, about kind of encompassing total student athlete type of ideas. So those were a couple camps that I had when I was growing up. When I got older, when I was in the NBA, I was able to run my own camps. Have been running camps for close to 20 years now. Everything, I've had camps, as small, clinics or workouts with, a few kids here or there. I've had camps that I've run that have been all the way up to 250 kids in the Vancouver area. We ran a basketball camp at Battleground High School 2 consecutive years where we were the largest camp in the Portland, Vancouver area, like I said, with about 250 kids. We had a number of NBA guys come through and speak with the kids. Brian Scalabrine spoke one year. Chris Johnson, who played in the NBA at the time for the Blazers, came through one year. It was a lot of fun to kind of put a lot of smiles on kids' faces when they got a chance to be in an environment they loved and then get to hear from a current NBA player. So, appreciate the question, Jack. I love being involved with the game of basketball and helping teach it to young kids that are up and coming and love it the same way that I did when I was young. So appreciate the questions, Phil, Tim, and Jack. If you have a question as a listener, send it my way, just as I said, on social media at DDickau21, on Instagram at Dan Dickau21, on Twitter, email it dickau@scorebooklive.com, or send it to any of the Gonzaga Nation SI media channels feeds. So take care, have a great one. We'll be back very soon with some great upcoming coaching guests on both the ISO and Gonzaga Nation SI.